one thing I want to put to rest, man, is we gotta stop this Outkast is one person thing. I saw this YouTube video, man, and it was, I'm gonna put it on the screen. Somebody posted this remix where they threw Eminem on Chunky Fire, which is on Outkast's album Akumanai. And I'm seeing the amount of time here, and I'm a super nerd, not know Akumanai backwards, right? I see that it's 6 minutes and 49 seconds, and I'm like,
It's a little long.
yeah, because they added Eminem, but I'm like, did they take off Big Boy or something? Because the way that it's titled is Eminem and Andre 3000, Chunky Fire. And I'm like, I'm listening to it. Okay, you are now entering the fifth dimension of a sentence. And then they threw Eminem's verse in there. It's whatever, whatever. And then Big Boy comes in, and I'm like, for some people, Outkast songs are Andre 3000 songs, obviously. We gotta stop not crediting Big Boy for his work, man. It's getting terrible. And even in this Griot article, it said Outkast versus T.I. Like, huh? Outkast is, for the people out there who don't know, Outkast is two people. And this Chunky Fire remix, Andre 3000 and Eminem, like, I don't know if they feel like Andre's name picks up views more than Outkast's name, but that's disrespectful. It's Outkast. It's Outkast's song. Chunky Fire is not Andre 3000's song.
It does. How about this, Mike? That's one of the few records on Equipment Out. It sounds like he's the creator of it, and Big Boy jumped onto his creation. Now, Chunky Fire is that.
But Big Boy's on it, and it's an Outkast song.
No. So listen to what I'm about to say. I never thought, Mike, when I heard Illmatic in 1994, and I heard Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music in 1994 later that year, that all these years later, I would be having to take up for the greatness of Nas and Big Boy, as if they haven't been around and like you haven't heard it. Like, it's crazy to me. It's like, Mike, I mean, and I know everybody be on here like talking about and big up in us or about how we've been fighting for Nas like in the mainstream media. We be fighting for Big Boy just as hard and before and about how he gets treated, mass media, local media, like we be
It's
on
insane.
it because it's not fair. It's not fair to his legacy.
He keeps the legacy going too. Like Big Boy went out there and bought the home.
This wasn't one of those 70-30 partnerships. This was a 50-50 split.
Oh, easy.
50-50 split. And if you really want to start breaking down the verses, 60-40.
Honestly, yeah. Big Boy, when it came down to Andre taking off a song or two on the album, Big Boy was, you know what I'm saying, anchoring down that. Whether that be like Snapping and Trapping on Stankonia, or whether that be Slump on the Akumanai, whether that be West Savannah, whether that be Decatur song on ATLians. Like, Big Boy picks up the slack when Dre takes a couple songs off. You know what I'm saying? Like, so this whole notion, like, Dre is 70% of the group or whatever people think, we got to cut that out, man. And I appreciate the fact that Big Boy keeps the Dungeon family and Outkast's legacy alive. I mean, he even bought the home that, you know, they all used to meet at, revitalized it and everything. Like, it's a tourist attraction now.
Yeah, it's an Airbnb now. You can go stay in the dungeon on Airbnb now. Yeah.
Well, they did it for a short time. I don't think you could do that now. I don't want to false advertise with people, but
oh, really? They stopped that?
They were doing it for a promotion, kind of like, you know, the Fresh Prince house was doing, where it was like select dates and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, but the fact that he went in there and bought the property and kept it and, you know, did what he needed to do with it, he's keeping their legacy alive. And what does he get in appreciation for that? To act like he's not even in the group? Shit is wild, man.
I mean, Mike, if you really want to look at it, he's actually class personified, and I'm going to tell you why. Because for all the disrespect, you ever heard him talk disrespectfully?
Exactly. He better than me.
Oh, no, Mike, he better than both of us.
He better than me. Because I wouldn't sit there and allow people to continuously...
Right, he's been a class act, a torch bearer the entire time. That's why I say every time he drops an album, if nowhere else in this city, oh, you need to play that shit all day. Like, that's who he is. That's Big Boy. That's one half of Outkast.
Exactly. And again, individually, if we want to, say their names individually and all that, but we're not gonna sit here and post Outkast songs and just put Andre's name on the shit. Like that's not cool.
No, it's not cool.
That's disrespectful.
Big Boy. Big Boy built a whole legacy. Mike, I keep telling you, if you go back and listen to their hit records, it sounds like he is the author of more of those records.
Yeah. I feel like
stylistically, their hit records sound more like Big Boy.
Elevator's hook sounds more like a Big Boy hook than it does Andre.
Big Boy hook. Me and you, yo mama and yo Mike. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
ekCDI.
Hush that fuss. Everybody move to the back of the bus.
That sounds like Big Boy.
With us, we the type of people make the club get crunk. That's not Dre. Is that Dre?
Art of storytelling. That sounds like Big Boy too.
It's like that now.
Yeah, you better go get the hump about your back now. Sound like Big Boy and Sleepy.
Cats off in black now. Right.
The song ATLians, throw your hands in the air. That sounds like
Fish and Grits and all the pimp shit.
Yeah, that's Big Boy.
Think about it, because Drake come into my oral illustration feel like clitoral stimulation
right.
to the gender. It's like, oh, you jumped in.
Yeah, he jumped in on some other shit.
The verse is brilliant, but you jumped in.
Now I'll give.
So we need to start breaking down the catalog more, so people actually don't know. It's like, stop thinking that you're hearing Dre carry Big Boy. What you're really hearing a lot of the times is Dre jumping in on shit Big Boy create.
No, you're right. And he doesn't get enough credit for the creativity of Outkast. It's like, and even back then, some of the publications, when they used to, and they said they hated this when they would call them that, but they used to label them like the pimp and the poet or some shit like that. You remember that? Yeah. And it kind of gave credence to this notion that Dre's the creative one. Big Boy just on here rapping. And that's not what it was.
Right.
They're both creatives. Clearly.
Right. No, I get it, because you got to do your marketing and branding. And Big Boy, to quote the record, he just specializes in street talk more than Dre after the first album. You don't get no street talk from Dre after the first album. None.
No.
But Big Boy kept that part of it alive because he knew that it was essential to the group. So he made sure that even though he stayed enough to stay on Dre's wave, he made sure that he always gave the street something. That's what West Savannah is. That's what Slump is.
But that's the balance that made Outkast not go too far too early, where people would just stop fucking with them all around. You know what I mean? Like, that foundation that Big Boy was able to keep alive from Outkast is what kept them having the hardcore fan base that they had for each album, even when they went to outer space.
Hey, Mike, you know how So Fresh, So Clean sounds like Dre just jumped in on the verse and added something? It's because he did. That was Big Boy record. Yeah. All right.
Now, I mean, I don't know if you saw that Organized Noise documentary where they said, Dre said he wasn't going to jump on the song until they put a bass line on there.
See what I'm
saying? So
it was
about? Already done, yeah.
The record was done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Big Boy got a great ear for music. You want to know the dopest thing that I heard? He was sitting down with Dre when he was making The Love Below, and Dre played She Lives in My Lap, and he's like, that's the record.
It is.
Big Boy said that to Dre, and if you go back, Mike, that's the record. That record is held up better than every record on that album.
Well, it was supposed to be the first single.
Supposed to be the first single.
And the label decided on Hey Y'all, but yeah.
But that was Big Boy. That was Big Boy actually making that call. Be like, that's the one, Dre.
I think She Lives in My Lap is the best song on The Love Below, in my personal opinion.
It is. It's the writing, the beat, like everything about it. Yeah.
Shit is crazy. It's kind of like a mix of She's Always in My Hair and If I Was Your Girlfriend. It's the sonics of If I Was Your Girlfriend, but the subject matter of She's Always in My Hair.
Right. The perspective is evolving and it's changing, and the nuances, and you can dissect the song in different manners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, very, very dope. And I really wish that Dre would have went out there and actually toured on that album too. And that's a whole nother subject too, where it's like so many things when they separated, Big Boy was deprived of doing because he couldn't go out there and just tour on Speakerbox by itself. It was an Outkast album. Imagine what an Outkast tour would have looked like for Speakerbox and Love Below if Dre was willing to tour on the Love Below.
That's kind of one of those things that in hindsight was great for Big Boy, because that's when he got all his other businesses together.
Yeah.
And now he has a few. And so
I think
he
Big
like,
Boy kind of, and he'll never say this, but it seems like to kind of piggyback on that, it's kind of like what Dame said about Jay when he was like, Jay was talking all that, he was going to retire after the first album. Dame said he knew at that moment he needed to have all kind of businesses going on because he didn't want to depend on whether this guy wanted to rap or not. And I think that Big Boy realized that early too.
Mike, he's actually talking about it on Bombs Over Baghdad. Set a business for yourself, man. Make some goals.
Yeah. I mean, look, he knows Dre better than all of
Having
us.
out dusty coals.
He knows Dre better than all of us. So I'm
Right.
sure he saw all the signs early and was like, yeah, let me do what I gotta do.
So when he's popping up on Stankonia on the first single talking about businesses, you want to know where that came from? That came from the time that Stankonia was getting recorded, but it was just him recording. He like, hold on, this nigga really acting like he don't want to rap right now.
Yeah.
Oh, hold up.
I mean, you kind of got to ask yourself, even us as fans from a distance, we were seeing kind of all this stuff unfold. I would imagine people up close are like, how long is this really going to last? Because it seemed like every album they would have to address these rumors about them breaking up or how they could coexist being
Mike,
so
I
different.
don't care what anybody tells me, Mike. Spaghetti Junction didn't get recorded during Stankonia. Because they're
that should be a question asked.
No, Mike.
We got to get some interviews set up.
That Mike, when I hear that, I hear something that got recorded between Southern Playalistic and AT Aliens. Their chemistry is so tight. It's very Benz or Beamer like with the chemistry.
It is, but they
and
do
if you
sound
listen to
like
Mike. That don't sound like no beat for 2000.
It sounds like, you know what it sounds like to me, and I'm just speculating. Who knows? And people watch the show, so we might see a tweet about this in the upcoming weeks. Who knows? But it feels like it was a beat that might have been left over, and the new Outkast rhymed over a beat that was from a few years back. That's what it sounds like to me.
It could be that too,
because they sound up to date, but the beat does sound pretty retro.
Crazy, Mike. The chemistry just so crazy, and you can hear on the rest of the album that they're not there together, even though the music's great. It's like when Dre comes in on So Fresh, So Clean, it's like, man, thank you for showing up on this brilliant, beautiful record. Thank you. It's almost like you want to send him a card because you almost can tell from the tone of the song. It's like, oh, I don't even know if you want to get on.
Niggas love the ski slopes and fall like avalanches. Yeah. Yeah, they were going back and forth really well on that. The chemistry was there, and it's like, to me, as a fan, like, that's the Outkast I love the most. The Benz or Beamer cast, the Everlasting cast
from the Nothing to Lose soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, at that point they're untouchable, and what's so crazy, and I think that what kind of took away from them doing things like that is they're such great songwriters that it kind of start taking them somewhere else where you do get the Miss Jacksons, you do get the Rosa Parks, which are dope and great, all-time great songs, but it took them away from the two dope boys, the Wheels of Steel, the Benz or Beamer cast, because they were so great at doing other stuff.
Right, but Mike, those are their greatest records to me that you're just naming when they're on that shit. Those are the records.
Me too. We didn't get enough of that. I think that's the one thing that leaves Outkast fans very empty in the end of the day. We didn't get enough of that. And we're never going to get it again. It's never going to happen. I think we would have been fine with the fact that we got enough of, the Miss Jacksons, the So Fresh, So Cleans, but we didn't get enough of those guys rhyming with each other like that.
Hey, I'm going to tell you something. And this is for a group that made 4 albums together. Ray and Ghost have given us more moments like that than they have, and they haven't even made 4 albums together, just them. And Ray and Ghost have given us more than that. I'd be bringing up the MGM because I think it's their finest moment together, but they got tons of the finest moments together, Mike. Where you want to go? You want to go Criminology? You want to go Verbal Intercourse with Nas? You want to go Ray and Ghost United on Fish Scale? You want to go Flowers on Bulletproof Wallets? You feel what I'm saying? Like, I'm just running off the top of my head of shit Ray and Ghost and got together and just spazzed on together.
But see, those guys have shown that
Kilo on Fish Scale is Ray and Ghost. They got stuff like where it's just like where they get in that pocket together and you love it, and they get in that pocket because they know the people love it.
But you know what? It's interesting you say that because those guys have chemistry like Styles and Jada, and those guys have also shown that they can do it apart. We we hold Andre super high as an individual, just in hip hop altogether. But I don't think we credit how much their chemistry adds to how great they seem to be
Oh,
as
Mike,
individuals.
when they do what Ray and Ghost do and what Kissing Styles do, they are just as good at it.
I don't care what
Benzo Beamer.
anybody says. Andre got a lot of great features, right? But his best features are when Big Boy is on the record. It just is. Like, to me,
Yeah.
whenever I hear Dre without Big Boy, something's missing. But when you hear him on, like, what's the song that Big Boy had the Isley Brothers sample? You know what I'm talking about? Where Raekwon was on there.
Royal Flush.
Royal Flush.
Mm-hmm. Royal Flush is brilliant.
Dre went in.
Ray's
He raps
crazy
on a
with Royal
different
Flush.
level when he knows Big Boy's on the song. Dre raps on a different level. Same thing with International Players Anthem. Like when Big Boy's on the record and the song with Can't Wait, Sleepy Brown. When Big Boy's on the record, Dre's features are a different level than they are when he's just rapping with, a Rick Ross or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, or when he's
Partner
on.
in rhyme, Mike. That's who he came up rhyming with. That's where he's comfortable as an MC. If he's never, for all the uncomfortability that he expressed, if he's comfortable anywhere, that's where he's comfortable. And Big Boy's right there.
Yeah.
That's his comfort space as an MC. It's really the only space we really know him as an MC, Mike, is next to Big Boy.
Exactly.
We don't know what he's like not next to Big Boy. We know what Big Boy is like without Drake. He's still great.
Yeah. That's that foundation that Big Boy offers for the greatness of Dre. I think that their chemistry makes them greater, and we don't give credence to that enough as a collective. And that's why I refuse to separate them when we talk about the greatness of, Dre as an individual. Now, we could talk about Big Boy as an individual, like you said, because we've seen that. But I think that people really understate how much Big Boy adds to Dre on the record.
Go listen to Benzo Beamer, Two Dope Boys, Wheels of Steel, and Ain't No Thing.
Yeah.
They got chemistry as good as anybody who's ever done it on the mic.
Yep. All right, well, I know we got to get up out of here, man. We like 2 hours strong in here. I want everybody to know, since people have been asking, we are going to be doing the mock verses with Rap Roundtable next week. We're taking on 21. Nas Records. Rap Roundtable is going to be taking on 21 Jay-Z Records, and we're going to be going live here on this According to Hip Hop YouTube channel next Friday at 7 o'clock, and you guys are going to be the people that are going to be picking the winners of each round. So I'm looking forward to it. Should be a fun time. I know y'all been asking for it for the past couple of weeks. Rap Roundtable says people have been hitting them on their Twitter and everything asking about it, but that's what it is.
Unbiased when you do this.
Uncompromising bias.
Right.
Unbiased.
Be unbiased, because if they pick a record, like, how about this, Mike? There are some J records I'm afraid of. Like, I'm afraid if they drop the Evils, because it's hard to beat. And if it beats a great Nas record, it's like, that's what it is. Like, I'll give you an example. It's like, I think the Evils is better than Blaze of 50.
Yeah, I don't want to say the record that I'm afraid of, but, we'll see.
No. There are plenty of J records to be afraid of. I was just using the Evils as an example.
I think the Evils is one that they're probably...
It's like, oh no, that guy hard to beat when he do that.
The Evils is probably going to be one that they have in their arsenal. But yeah, it's a few that I'm thinking of in my head. I don't want to say too much, but...
Right. Already said.
Yeah, I don't want to give people the sauce like that. But yeah, it should be good. It should be really fun. Like I said, we picked 20 each. I think it'd be beneficial for us to pick a extra song so that if there is a 10-10 tie somehow, we'll have that one song that's a tiebreaker, and the people will be able to choose on that. So I want to find the best way to quantify some of these wins, man. But, we'll go through the comment section like we normally do, and we can get a general consensus. Right. And so everybody will be able to see it. People can have their laptop up or whatever, and they'll be able to see the votes that are coming through. So it should be fun.
I mean, Mike, I only brought up the Evils because it's like, if you're making a list of 20 Jay-Z songs and the Evils doesn't fall somewhere in the 20 songs, I don't know what to say.
I could do it. I could. He got a big catalog, so we'll see.
He don't got 20 songs better than the Evils. He don't got 10 songs better than the Evils.
It's one of his personal favorites. I've heard Jay talk about that over and over. You know,
Thinking
it's
back
funny.
when we
Cool,
first
bro. To be
learned the news,
perfectly honest, man, it's really
Clark's
funny.
on the return of kidnapping his baby mother. Yeah.
Cool, it's funny, man. I know you're a Nas guy, and it's so funny to me that a lot of your favorite Jay Z records are Jay Z's favorite Jay Z records. Like you and him have a very similar outlook on his catalog.
Because he's a head like I am, and I love Jay. I just think Nas is a better MC. I told you, Mike, Jay, from the time that I've heard Volume 1, Jay's been in my top 10 all time and has never been taken out of my top 10. I've had Jay in top 10 MC since the first couple years I've heard him. He's usually fallen somewhere between 4 to 7. The guys I have ahead of him are named Nas, Rakim, Big, and Pac. Sometimes Scarface. So I think super, super high of him. Yeah.
Well,
super high.
Well, we'll probably have a show before then, and we're gonna give you guys a release date next week on this year, but we gotta, finish it up, and we wanted to make sure that we got all of the facts from this year. And again, we see how people document things inaccurately. We wanted to take our time and make sure that it was right and make sure everything that was done properly and done to the people's specifications. So we're gonna hit y'all with that next week, man, and I am gonna holler at you guys next week. I'm gonna holler at you later, Coop, man, and we probably gonna holler at y'all Wednesday before we do this mock versus. Y'all have a great weekend. Yeah.
Peace, kings and queens. Y'all be blessed.
Yes, sir.